What is up, YouTube? Bill back with another video. Alright, yeah, so today we got aliens are here and they're not our friends. John Lear. Now this is an old video, bro. This is like 3 years old, but I never really actually watched this video ever. But basically, you know what I'm saying? In this video, I guess John Lear finna explain to us aliens and shit, you feel me? And aliens, next week the House is supposed to oversight is supposed to have its first hearing about the aliens, investigation to the aliens. So next week is gonna be an interesting week. I'm definitely gonna tap in with y'all about that because they about to take that to trial, you feel me? Is that shit real? Because there's been a lot of whistleblowers going on around saying that aliens are real and shit. Ooh. And this is another dude, I guess, who just flat out told us, bro, there's he know everything about the aliens. So let's tap in.
Hello and welcome to On the Record. Those of you who joined us last week were probably amazed, as I was, by some of the latest research in the field of UFOs. There is so much to talk about, however, we were unable to fit it all into one program, so my guest again this week is UFO researcher, former state Senate candidate, and award-winning pilot John Lear. Mr. Lear, nice to have you here again.
Always a pleasure to be here, George.
To begin with, we have this concept of the people from other planets as little green men. Mm-hmm. Are they green from what you know? Are they all the same, or we got different kinds of them?
George, there's at least 70 different species, and probably more. But
there's at least 70 different species. How do you know there's 70 different species? And at least 70. How? I don't know.
yes, as odd as it sounds, there are little green men. That's not the ones we usually see, though. We see the little gray ones.
So, there are little green men, but that's not the ones we see. What? And there are little gray ones. What is he talking about here?
They're about 4.5 feet tall. And we see the ones that are called the Nordics. They're about 7 feet tall, look like us, but they're invariably blonde hair and blue-eyed.
The Nordics. Blonde hair, blue eyes. That sound like white people, okay? Blonde hair, blue eyes sounds like white people, bro. I'm confused. How the fuck do they have blonde hair, blue eyes, and why are they... He said they look like us, and they're 7 feet tall. What? Huh? So let me get this straight. They look like us, blonde hair, blue eyes, right? They're about 7 feet tall. What the fuck is going on? Okay. So you telling me possibly an alien could be a president if they got blonde hair, blue eyes, 7 feet tall? What is you telling me? Okay, let's tap in.
One of the species that we have on ice. One of their crashes we recovered.
Obviously.
Okay, so one of the species that they have on ice, he's doing a lot of okay? For sure. he not really speaking on point for me. That's off rip. Cause we gonna get to the bottom of this. You feel me? We gonna take the trial right here, right now. Okay? So, you know what I'm saying? Speak clearly, my guy. You good. You only talking to this guy. He only here, it ain't.
Obviously, with different species, they have different motives. I mean, are there good aliens and bad aliens?
Good
from what
aliens
you know?
and bad aliens, and all kinds of ways and reasons for interacting with us.
And what are some of the reasons? Why would they be here?
Genetic experiments,
You're not asking enough questions, my guy. He just said blonde hair and blue eyes, my nigga. Do they? And he said they look like us. Okay.
There's a misconception here. People think that our space brothers would bring us, good things and teach us how to get rid of all our diseases. And if you stop and think about it, that may not be the best thing, because if you had a society without any disease and everybody starts living 150 years, that creates a lot of problems.
Shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up! Why the fuck is it a difference from me living to 150 years to me living to 100? I can live an extra 50 years, gang? I don't like him already. Fuck you, John Lear. What the fuck is you saying? I want my grandma to live to 150. I want to live to 150. Who don't want to live to 150? Niggas is weird. What do you mean they're gonna call? Like what? And no disease? No. What the problem is, motherfuckers can't motherfucking capitalize off us. You feel me? So they put the goddamn COVID vaccine in this shit, so motherfuckers like Bill Gates can make motherfucking money on off the goddamn vaccine. You feel me? Because he know where to put his money. Because he already didn't. He created the goddamn COVID damn near. You feel me? The nigga was talking about COVID before COVID even happened. And then it happened. And then he made money off of it. So what that fucking mean? Okay? So that's why you motherfuckers just don't want no diseases. Okay? So shut the fuck up. Alright? No. What you mean that's gonna be a bad society? That sound like a good society? Do that sound bad to y'all? Like, for real, 100. Do that sound bad? That don't sound bad. Like, motherfuckers be...
So they would not meddle in that way.
You believe, in part, that the movies E.T., Close Encounters of the Third Kind, were not entirely just the creative products of some Hollywood director, that maybe there's more to that. Why don't you explain?
They were carefully guided by representatives from MJ12, who is this organization that is in charge of the cover-up, in order to get us ready for the release of the information that there are indeed aliens. And in both those movies, they used small little creatures and in order to get us ready for this release of information.
So to prepare us that the idea of benevolent aliens from outer space are going to help us out.
Unfortunately, they're not so benevolent. So they made probably one of the most disastrous mistakes when E.T. was put out. At that time was before we discovered what I call the double cross or the grand deception. And they were trying to get us used to the benevolent little creatures, but that isn't the case.
The grand deception. They was trying to get us used to the little creatures. I'm not really getting what he put down for real. You know what I'm saying? I'm hearing him. You feel me? They was trying to get us ready, but he was saying it was really a bad mistake. Why was it a mistake?
Why don't you take a...
This dude not answering no questions, bro. Look, he go from question to question. He already got the questions on his little bullet, on this little goddamn thingamajig, you feel me?
A couple of minutes. Now, you've done as much research on UFOs as just about anyone, I'd imagine, and if you haven't done it, you know people who have. Where did it all start, and how have we put this picture together of where they came from and why they're here?
Well, the whole thing started in July 2nd, 1947. That was the first crash.
First crash of an alien spaceship.
Of an alien spaceship. July 6th is when they recovered it and sent it to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. July 7th is when they held the press conference and told the people it was when they recovered.
First crash of an alien spaceship.
Well, the whole thing started in July 2nd, 1947. That was
1947, July 2nd.
The first crash.
Okay.
First crash of an alien spaceship.
Of an alien spaceship. July 6th is when they recovered it and sent it to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. July 7th is when they held the press conference and told the people it was a weather balloon, which the press bought hook, line, and sinker. September of that year, President Truman established MJ12.
So listen. Hold on. I'm going to do some research. No, we're going to do it together. No, hold on. Let me make sure. So he said July 7th, 1942, weather balloon. So I just want to see if it pop on. Okay, cool. So listen, he said July 7th, this is when they announced It crash landed in Roswell. 1947, high altitude balloon crash landed. The aliens never left. The aliens never left in Roswell. Okay, cool. So I guess back in the day, this how this shit, you know what I'm saying, how they had this shit. I'm trying to zoom in because I can't read none of this shit. Hold on. Okay. RAAF captures flying saucer on ranch in Roswell. Security comes pays away talks. Flying discs are revealed. Roswell man wife report disc. Okay. I can't read this shit. I wish I could. But if you guys want to read it here. Claims Army is stacking. Okay. Let's close a look on July 4th. He named a rancher named W.W. Mac Brazil and his son were driving across the ranch some 80 miles northwest of Roswell when they encountered something they've never seen before. It was in Brazil's words a large area of bright wreckage made up of rubber strips, tinfoil, and rather tough paper and sticks. That kind of do sound like a balloon, my nigga. Tinfoil, strips, rubber, and rather tough paper and sticks. The metallic-looking, lightweight fabric was shredded across the gravel of New Mexico. Brazil did not know what to do with the newfound items or how they landed on the property. So on July 4th, he collected all of the mysterious records he could find. On July 7th, he drove it all to Roswell, delivering it to the good sheriffs. So that's not adding up, okay? It's not adding up. On July 8th, Marshall catches flying saucer or ranch in Roswell. Also sent an intelligence officer from the base to investigate. Okay. Accompanied by sheriff in Brazil, Marshall returned to the site and collected all of the wreckage as where Marshall chose to make a public statement on July. Ran to the local newspaper, the Roswell worker alongside head captured the body contained a dramatic memorial sentence. Apparently, it was better for the Air Force perspective that was a crashed alien spacecraft out there than to tell the truth. The flying saucer was easier to admit that project. Okay, I'm sorry, y'all, but okay. We gonna continue the video. I know I've been, but it's crazy. It's crazy, bro.
12, and the purpose of
You gotta make sure, bro, because he's stuttering.
that was to study the saucers and cover up the existence of UFOs.
And you say we recovered alien bodies from that incident, right?
4 from that particular crash, yes.
Damn.
And what'd they do with them?
They autopsied them. Dr. Detlef Bronk was the chief surgeon, so to speak. He was the one that named them EBEs. And it stands for extraterrestrial biological entities. And we captured 3 live EBEs. They were numbered in their order of capture: EBE-1, EBE-2, and EBE-3.
Where did we capture? Where did this happen?
In different crashes. EBE-1 lived with an Air Force colonel between 1949 and 1952. The EBEs are kept in an electromagnetic facility called a YY-2. It was designed by a Dr. Eric Wang, who worked directly for Dr. Kissinger, who has been in this cover-up since the very beginning. The reason they had to create an electromagnetic facility is the fact that the EBEs are so advanced, they're at least 500 million years advanced from us, and probably more. They can move by thought.
Move by thought.
And they can also disappear. But they can't move by thought through electromagnetic facilities. So they built this facility. There was 2, one in Los Alamos and one either at Edwards or up at the test site.
At Groom Lake, Nevada.
At Groom Lake. Now, there's still one EBE still living, EBE3, and there is a videotape that eventually is going to be released to the public, and it's an interview with him. As hard as that may sound, as hard as that may be to believe, there is a videotape of an interview with EBE3.
And what is this language that the interviewers are?
I haven't seen the tape, so I don't know. But on this trip I told you I took gathering all this information, a guy in Albuquerque handed me 25 secret CIA memos. And if anything can be humorous in all of this, one of these memos, in the body of the text, it said, by the way, EBE3 wants to see the ocean. We better make the arrangements or he'll disappear again. So while he couldn't get out of this facility, he could make himself disappear and cause him a lot of trouble.
Now, can they exist among us? Is that what you're saying, or do they have to have this special environment?
They have
to be able
special
to
environment, special air. It's my understanding they can only last about 20 minutes in this air.
You were saying also these.
My thing is, bro, listen, you don't know shit about these aliens, bro. You recovered these niggas. You know what I'm saying? We some little bitty old humans and shit, right? So, nigga, they crash landing this bitch. I don't know what the fuck they was drinking, getting high. What the fuck? These niggas crash landing. They 500 billion. You feel me? What the fuck, nigga? Like, and then they doing on another planet. So, okay, cool. You feel me? They fuck up. They crash land, right? Nigga, we go get their ass, right? Nigga, as soon as we touch them, they supposed to disappear. Like, what? They was knocked out when y'all see them? My thing is, he said they crash landed on July 2nd. July. What did he say? July 7th? No, they crashed July 7th. 2nd. I think he said they recovered them July 4th or some stupid shit. Basically, nigga, they was supposed to be gone. These aliens was drunk. I ain't gonna lie. And he's saying they can just disappear. They can move with their minds. And there's an interview. Okay.
These gray ones are the ones that we see most of the time, and you said that most of that there are a lot of different motives for them being here. The gray ones, what kind of a deal we got going with them? Is that the bunch that you suggest we've made a deal with for military technology?
Well, I think we made a deal with them, and their ultimate, what they want to do is regenerate their own race. Now, apparently, they've either had some kind of nuclear accident, or they're on the backside of a evolutionary genetic curve, and they're going downhill instead of uphill. In other words, in the autopsies, of which I have 2, we found out that their digestive system is atrophied. They can't eat through their mouth anymore. You know how they eat? Well, these cattle mutilations, they take the hormones and the enzymes from those cattle and they spread it on their skin, and their skin absorbs the nutrients and then excretes the waste back through their skin. And if you read Whitley Strieber's book or listen to him talk, he talks about when he's seen them doing this to their skin, and they're scraping the waste off.
Now, these cattle mutilations, there's been a film made about that, and perhaps in a couple of minutes we can take a look at some excerpts of that.
Yeah, Strange Harvest was a good one, but another thing that happened here on March 4th, there was a documentary released on the best UFO photos that have been taken so far, including 1 minute and 38 seconds of videotape. Now, what happened is in November, this guy took these photos, took it into the TV station. They thought it was great, but nobody would believe it. So they spent 3 months checking the validity of the, authenticating the videotape and checking out the credibility of the witness. And when they had it all down, they put out this documentary, 30 minutes. I mean, it's ironclad. They're here. But do you think it got on the network? No, it was just showed locally in Pensacola.
We have some of that, and perhaps when we come back, we can take a look at it. So stay with us for more of On the Record.
Where number 2 at? Let me see if we can get a part 2. Let me see if we get a part 2, man. So part 3?
If you ask Nellis Air Force Base about UFOs, they'll tell you they have no record of any sightings there, ever. Ask the Department of Energy if it's ever had a UFO sighting at the vast Nevada test site. No records, it says. McCarran Airport, no sightings there. But are they telling the truth? Former airport officials say UFO sightings have occurred. On occasion, the Nellis Tower would call McCarran to ask, "Are you seeing what we're seeing?" Employees of Nellis reported a UFO that nearly landed on the flight deck in late 1995, but they were told to keep quiet. Pentagon records hold other evidence of Nevada UFO encounters. This top-secret report about UFOs prepared for the Air Force in 1948 lists one case in which an Air Force pilot flying over Lake Mead saw 5 or 6 circular UFOs traveling in formation in June 1947. In the mid-1950s, an Army officer traveling near the Indian Springs base reported seeing 4 UFOs sitting on the ground. And in the 60s,
what we call the flying saucers. They were pretty prevalent at the test site during those years.
This former test site employee says he and other workers frequently saw flying discs near Area 51.
Well, they were a saucer shape, kind of rounded on the bottom, 30, 35 foot in diameter.
Were they sitting on the ground or?
No, they were maneuvering over the lake bed.
What kind of maneuvers?
Like darting.
But Nevada's most intriguing UFO case of all isn't even listed as a UFO. Some of it sounds like the plot of an old sci-fi movie, but it really happened. On the night of April 18, 1962, a fireball was tracked across the country. Witnesses in Utah say they could even hear it pass over. It exploded in the skies near Mesquite. Newspapers reported it, but officials said it was only a meteor. Maybe, maybe not. The fireball was tracked on radar all across the country. According to press accounts, jets were scrambled to chase it. Now, military records we've obtained shed new light. Air Force records note the object, quote, came in over Cuba. Witnesses saw it in New York, but it changed directions and headed across country. NORAD bases were placed on alert. An intelligence report states a pilot chasing it saw a clearly defined object, which made a gasping sound and had flame coming from its tail. Air Force records note that several people saw it land in Eureka, Utah, where it knocked out electrical power. But then it took off again and ended in a nuclear-like explosion near Mesquite, an explosion seen in Las Vegas, even Reno. A search team was organized.
They thought that it could have been an aircraft or whatever. There was rumors that it was an unidentified object.
The search was headed up by Walter Butt. They combed the mountains and brush near Mesquite, but never found any wreckage. However, the military kept tabs on them.
The military had contacted us later, with that either that day or within a couple of days, to wanting to determine if we in fact had found something, and which we hadn't.
Air Force records show the military sent in its own recovery team, and their classified report stated the meteor explanation is, quote, questioned.
It was alright, you know what I'm saying? Like, to be honest, in my opinion, like, that was weak. I thought they was gonna show me some videos. You feel me? Bro said he had, but you feel me?
Welcome back to On the Record. The subject is UFOs. We're about to see part of a documentary. John, perhaps you could introduce it. It deals with the 14,000 cattle mutilations that happened.
That's right, and we were particularly prevalent around Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, and Utah. And it was a documentary made by Linda Moulton Howe for the CBS affiliate in Denver.
And let's take a look at that now, a piece of it.
Are going to die each year from hard winters, disease, lightning strikes, predator attacks, and other natural causes. But in northeastern Colorado, another favorite spot for the mutilators, Tex Graves, former sheriff of Logan County, insists the 93 mutilated carcasses he investigated were not natural deaths.
The very first one we had was southwest of Sterling. When we first looked at it, it was just unbelievable that you could take an animal and do this too without leaving some kind of track, some kind of evidence behind, such as cigarette butts, matches, handprints, footprints, but there was nothing.
I feel it, because like I was about to say, nigga, you can shoot that motherfucker. You can shoot it. But I see no tracks, no handprints, no nothing. You know, okay. So let's tap in. But and no bullets.
The animal looked almost horrible, and it was something that I didn't really want to believe then. And there was, we probably had 5 or 6 others before I really did believe something strange was going on. We had one up north where we believe the animal was paralyzed and was alive when it was being mutilated. An eye and an ear, the tongue, the rectal area was taken out, but the animal dug a hole with its head, but none of the other parts of the body moved, not even the legs. 6 north of town on a very hard pasture, almost like hard brick. We found tripod marks 12 inches across. The tripod marks were 14 feet apart. We found one set that had gone in the ground roughly 8 inches. And it would take a good post hole digger or our shovel to dig in like this. It indicated something very heavy had sat down in this area, yet there was no tracks leading from it nor to it. Almost nightly when this was going on, we could pick out a very brilliant, huge, brilliant light in the sky. We had a newsman take pictures of it with a very high-powered lens, but all we got out of this was the movement of it and the light showing very brilliant. Several times we observed those smaller lights come out of this aircraft and then come down toward Earth. This huge, brilliant light would hang in the air, and then when it would move, it could move up and down, backwards, forwards, travel very rapidly, and after a while, these smaller lights would join up with the larger one, and then they'd disappear.
Lou Gerardo is the chief investigator for the district.
Bro, I'm so glad we got better cameras now. We got better cameras, bro.
Attorney's office in Trinidad, Colorado.
Extraterrestrials are the ones mutilating animals. What do you think the implications are then for this planet?
Throughout the mutilations, all of us involved have been concerned with the possibility of the mutilations going from animals to human beings. Understandable. Thank God to this point it hasn't happened. Whatever they're doing with the portions of these animals they are taking, I haven't the slightest idea. There's a reason for it. It's not haphazard. There's a pattern to it. I don't know. I think it's a wait-and-see game. What else can we do? If we do have beings from outer space doing this, with the capabilities to do things like this, what can we as a human race do? If they have the knowledge and the technology that it looks like they have, we're powerless. So maybe it's a wait-and-see game. I can't see anything else to do.
Well, he says the mutilations have not gone from animals to humans yet. You agree with that?
There have been some humans. It's a very, very sensitive subject. I'm going to steer away from that. But I will tell you that since the beginning of this year, there have been over 200 animal mutilations on Long Island. It's supposedly a big secret. I know that there's 4 major law enforcement investigators working in plain clothes.
On Long Island, New York?
Yeah, Long Island, New York. We have an investigator working with us who's sending us videotape and keeping us informed of what's going on. So it still is a problem.
And you say it's food. That's what they're doing.
Well, food or genetic experiments, take your choice.
Now, it hasn't gone maybe to...
They want them eyeballs, them ears, and that ass.
...to the point of where they're mutilating humans, but you do believe there are abductions. And you also believe that at one point there may have been some kind of a clash between American military forces and these UFO.
That's one of the stories. When we began to discover what I call the Grand Deception was in 1979, and apparently there was some kind of clash. 1983 is the date that I call that we finally recognized that we had made a disastrous mistake. And that's when MJ-12 realized that they were in deep, deep trouble. They had made a deal with these people, and it had not worked out. And now the question was what to do.
You got about a minute left. What would you like to say to people out there to prepare them for it? Now, you've made allusions a couple of times when I've had you on the program that something is coming. We've heard that before, something is coming. Why do you think something is coming? What's coming? And how should we get ready for it?
There's really no way to get ready for it. The reason I think it's coming is because I have contacts within the government that tell me that they're bracing themselves for something. but they're not going to tell us about it. George, maybe the cover-up was in our best interest, maybe not. Maybe the government underestimated the intelligence of the American people and decided we just couldn't handle it. But let me tell you this, the truth is still the truth, and nothing can change that. Not the military, not the government, and not me.
John Lear, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to have you here, and I'm sure we'll have you back again.
Thank you.
Thank you as well. See you next week with more of On the Record.
Bro, I just got chills sent through my body, bro. What do you mean? What do you mean? The truth is the truth. Oh my God, bro. I need somebody who's seen them motherfuckers, somebody who talked to them motherfuckers. Like, I just feel like motherfuckers shouldn't be able to hold water like that. If they seen an alien, bro, like, I don't know. But anyways, this your boy Blue Bill. I'm out.